Okay, this week's readings in reading 3.1 talked about different types of friendships that occur between people, and the three that I talked about were reciprocal, associative, and receptive, and the book defined reciprocal is a solid interpersonal relationship between people who are equals with a shared sense of loyalty and commitment. So, I mean, I think this is just how you would use to describe like your best friends or people that you're very close with, and just fellow people who are around your age and you guys are all equals. It's not like your boss or anything like that. And associative was defined in the reading as mutually approachable relationships between acquaintances or associates that, although positive, lack the commitment of reciprocal. So I feel like this is probably the most common because, I mean, reciprocal I would say is probably your best friends and like the few people that you're very closest to, and associative is people that you still consider like maybe a good friend of yours, but it wouldn't be like your best friend and someone that you consider very close with. So this could just be acquaintance that, or not an acquaintance, a friend that you hang out with regularly, but not someone that you indulge in your life to. And thirdly, the last one was receptive, which is friendships that include a status differential that makes a relationship asymmetrical. And I feel like this one, an easy example of this one would just be, I mean, a lot of people could be friends with their boss or somebody that's higher ranking than them in their business. And due to you being lower in the totem pole, the relationship is asymmetrical because they have power over you, but you could still view them as a friend. And the reading 3.1 also talked about how many different stages of friendships there are, and how like the lifespan, and they go through so many different stages that it's hard to put it into words and say like how many different stages there are because there's just so many. And another thing that the reading talked about is characteristics of friendships in adulthood. And I think adulthood is really when you find like the final friends that you're gonna make. Because like when you're a kid, people move on, go to different schools. Same goes for when you're a teenager in college. Like you don't always keep in touch with those people, or just because they may move or so. But when you're an adult, they consider that from 35 to 65. So that's really when you find like the last friends that you're gonna have. So I think they're more permanent, and this could help them grow better. And also, another thing I talked about is intergenerational friendships, which I thought were very interesting because they could be very strong or weak due to social media. Because, I mean, I know my parents could barely, they're not very good at technology, and so they would have a hard time contacting me through something like Facebook or Twitter, whereas someone your own age, you would be able to do that very easily. So it kind of dampens and not doesn't allow for you to reach them at all the different levels. And reading 3.2 talked about our relationships are more flexible due to computer mediated communication. And this means that like back when you could only contact people through like the phone or a face to face, your friendships were based on the face to face interactions you had, and or the phone conversations you had, and that's like the only way you could measure your friendship. And now that there's just a plethora of different ways you can do it, and so it makes it more flexible because you don't have to have face to face communication with people. And so it makes it's not nearly as unflexible, I guess. And then reading 3.3 talked about the top 3 reasons for drunk dialing. Yeah, and the 3 that it named were coordination, which was just like calling someone when you're drunk to invite them to come drink with you. Boredom, which would be just you being bored, or like maybe the night ended and you're just by yourself and you want to find something to do, so you call someone. Or uh, reciprocity, which like if somebody else is drunk drinking at a different place, you might call to like talk about you guys being drunk together. And I feel like these are probably the three um, main reasons for drunk dialing. Usually people are just bored. I think that's the main reason. They want to find something to do or keep drinking and everyone else stopped. You might like try to call people and see if they're still drinking. So I feel like that's the most common. Reading 3.4, it talked about boundaries with social media and home, including like how long you can access, when, where, and all that kind of stuff. And I didn't really, at least in my personal life, I didn't really have any boundaries. My parents never like told me I could only be on the computer for an hour or so. I just never really did it that much to begin with, so I didn't really need the boundaries. I always liked being outside and active more, so the boundaries weren't really necessary in my household. And 3.5 talks about the three types of parents when it comes to digital media. They're scary, coolest, and crazy. And I think scary would be like when you're like afraid to tell your parents you got a bad grade, or you're just afraid of telling them you did anything bad because you don't know what they're gonna do. And that's, I feel like, a very unhealthy relationship, because the kids will get scared and not share things with their parents. Crazy, I like the example they gave in the reading about their mom like taking the kid's computer and finishing the paper for him. I think that's a good example. And clueless, they just have no idea really what's happening, and it just doesn't really matter to them. So yeah, those are the things I got out of the readings in week 3.